Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining. Sorry for being just a moment late. We will get started. I just want to share that Scott, Commissioner Oleson, is not able to join us tonight, but we are joined by Commissioner Diamond from 1CO4, and we appreciate you joining the committee tonight. So thank you. And thank you everyone for being here. Just to quickly review the agenda, we have one formal item on the agenda, which I'm gonna move to add to the agenda. I noticed it just earlier today on the groups.io page. But I'm going to move that we add it to the agenda as to the benefit of the community, because there is a zoning board hearing coming up, and this is actually something that we've previously considered on the committee, and it's a zoning variance from a homeowner on Vernon Street, and the plans haven't changed. It's just the kind of relief that's requested, and I felt like for the sake of process, it would be better for us to reconsider and affirm if we support it, our support for this zoning variance, just because the type of relief that the zoning board has identified has changed. So I'm going to move to add that item to our agenda. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, great. So that item's been added to the agenda. The only other item that I shared with the community was I just wanted to create an open forum. We didn't meet last month, and I felt like there were some folks who wanted to join and just share views on anything going on in the purview of our committees, creating an open space to share about whatever issues you want to talk about. I will request at that point that we keep comments to a few minutes, and if there are issues that are being reviewed by the city as well, whether it's transportation or zoning, please also share those comments with decision makers. But this is really an opportunity to inform us of the issues that matter to the 1C community. Really just an open space here. I have gotten some emails from neighbors that aren't able to join, that asked me to read their notes into the record, and I'll share this meeting video with all other offices that are working on whether it's again transportation or zoning or the council member. Just letting folks know, and we don't have any resolutions on the table for this discussion, although we might come up with something to focus on for next month or to bring to the full commission. But I just want to create this open space since we're early in our term. So great. So let's get out of the way the one formal item on the agenda, which is 1837 Vernon Street. So if you're here to speak about that, if you don't mind raising your hand, and you'll be elevated to a panelist role, and then you can share your screen. Let me see. Okay, CJ's here. Great. Okay.
Hello, CJ Lamore here from Circle Square Cross Architecture. How are you?
Great. Do you want to share your screen and just go through a very quick recap of the project? Hopefully, because the plans haven't changed, we can move quickly on this item.
Yep, and I have actually also some additional on my second screen. I have some additional clarifying notes from our zoning attorney, just to make sure that I am keeping everything correct and straight.
Okay.
So let me share my screen. Can everybody see this project here?
Mm-hmm.
Great. So we were in front of your board in September. At that time, we were thinking that we only needed special exemption relief. We got through the ANC The Office of Planning and the Office and Zoning have pushed back on a number of items. This is one of those ones where it seems like a really like very no-brainer kind of thing up front, but then when you really start digging into the zoning code, there's a couple things that are getting triggered here. So I'll go through the project just generally to show you like what we're doing, and then just note how the relief is changing as well at the end. So the subject property is a 4-story row building with a cellar level on Vernon Street. It's pretty tight area. This is the back of the property. There's a garage here. The brick guy in the middle is our subject property. When we're done with the project, this garage door will be a little bit narrower. There'll be a man door in here, and this will be the rear entrance for the apartment unit we're proposing. So the existing is the rear garage. There's been a series of additions over, a number of, I mean, this building's over 100 years old. There's a very small portion that's, in this dotted area that's actually open to the sky. The rest of the lot is actually covered. Essentially what we'll do is we'll bring the apartment resident in through the rear of the alley through a man door. We're going to adjust the roof of the garage. You'll come up to a little bridge that gets you on top of the existing kitchen. We'll have another set of stairs that'll get you up to the 3rd floor. And once you're on the 3rd floor, you enter your apartment unit. Once you enter your apartment unit, you yet have to go up yet a 3rd set of stairs to get to the 4th floor apartment. Let's see where we at. These are just demo plans on the top levels. One of the reasons that we are putting this up on the top floor is because the infrastructure, plumbing, kitchen, there is an existing kitchen here. There's already an existing bathroom here. This used to be a group home. And so all of this infrastructure is already existing. And so it makes sense to put it there as opposed to at the bottom of the building, which is what you would typically see. That would be a hardship for the homeowner in that'd be all these new plumbing runs and potentially cracking the foundation and whatnot, wherein putting this where there's already plumbing existing is very easy for us. We're going to adjust the roof at the back again because it's a historic building that won't be seen from the front. We're really just getting a legal headroom in that apartment up top. This is the 3rd floor, again, coming from grade through the garage up to the 2nd level, which is at a bridge, then up to the 3rd level, which enters you into your apartment unit. This is a 1-hour fire rated separation to keep the units separated, and then a final flight of stairs up to the top to the 4th floor unit. A single bedroom apartment unit at the very top level. They'll have a private roof deck. We are adding, and this is part of our variance relief for FAR, but we're adding 64 square feet. Technically, the stair doesn't count for square feet. So we're adding 64 square feet to the overall square footage of the existing building. Everything else is existing. Again, we're adding the little bridge over the kitchen between the main building and the garage for the access to that unit. I really want to get you kind of into the building section so you can sort of see, what we're talking about, right? So grade up to the top of the bridge, up that 2nd flight of stairs, and then internal to the building, up that 3rd flight of stairs and in the unit. The nature of the FAR component and the lot occupancy component are variance reliefs. We are still seeking special exemption for the rear yard relief. So the rear yard relief is this little portion of bridge here that gets you between the 2 buildings. And then again, we need, let's see, we need variance relief for the FAR, floor area ratio, and the lot occupancy. So the sky bridge also is part of that lot occupancy. That bridge between the two, the garage and the roof of the kitchen, is both the special exemption for rear yard and variance for lot occupancy relative to this component highlighted in magenta. And then the FAR is relative to this 64 square feet. And, you know, we've gone back and forth with the zoning folks. They're like, well, can you push the stair forward? And it really is, it's difficult for us to push the stair forward because if I push this stair any further forward, then this bedroom, I can't access this bedroom for the main principal dwelling. It becomes, you know, really a useless room for them. So that's essentially the project in a nutshell. As I note, relative to what we presented to the ANC in September, there have been no plan changes, design changes, revisions to staircases, really no changes architecturally. The only changes that we're looking for special exemption for the rear yard and then variance for both the FAR and the lot occupancy. And so that's where we're at. They've increased the level of relief that we are seeking here. Are there any questions I could potentially answer for you?
Yeah, just to confirm, so the only enclosed space that is being added to the building is on the top floor at that hallway.
Yeah, so it's both the hallway and this little closet. They need a coat closet. So it's roughly this
Mhm.
area here that I've highlighted. 60,
And
that represents 64 square feet.
okay, and then the bridge between the garage and the roof of the kitchen, that would not be enclosed.
No, that would be open air to the sky.
Mhm. Would it be
But
covered or just
it would not be covered. It would be
okay.
just an open
And,
bridge.
but
Um,
the rear yard would be covered by that bridge.
Correct. That
Okay.
is, and that's why we need that rear yard special exemption is
Mhm.
because the rear yard is covered.
And
Um,
the lot occupancy variance is also because that's a covered area, so that's considered to be a lot occupancy.
Correct. So because that bridge is more than 4 feet above grade, it's going to be counted as uh, building space towards lot occupancy. If that bridge were 4 feet or less
Mhm.
above the grade, it wouldn't get counted. But it's, you know, it's a whole story above grade.
Um, I've got no further questions. I'll say that we supported these plans before, and I don't see why we should change our support for the plans. We want to support our neighbors adding accessory units and providing additional housing in the neighborhood. And I think this is a thoughtful approach to doing that. And the 64 square feet of additional FAR just doesn't seem like a substantial change to the lot from what I've seen. So I plan to support, but I'll open it to questions from the other commissioners.
I don't have any questions. Thanks for the presentation. And I
Thank you.
do, Daniel. Mhm.
Same for me, no questions. It seems like a great use of space. So I have nothing against this. That looks good to me.
Thank you kindly for all your help.
Are there any questions from the public? Raise your hand if you've got any. And something I've asked, one little question is, you've engaged with neighbors on these
Ye-
plans?
Yeah, so both the immediate adjacent neighbors are in support. We have letters that have been provided to um, the BZA in our submission. We're required to notify within, I believe it's a 200-foot radius of the building. So everybody that's lives within the vicinity has been, they've now been notified more than once about this. Um, we've posted all of our signs And we have not yet met anybody that is opposed to this. And we've been working on it for a while now.
Great. Okay. Thank you very much.
No problem.
Absent any comments or questions from the public, I will just move that we move this forward, recommend to the full commission that we support the request for special exemption from the rear yard and a variance for the lot occupancy and the FAR.
Correct.
And I'm surprised I got that right. And I'll move that we support it and to be voted on for the full commission. So any second? Do I need a second? I don't know. I don't think I need a second at committee level.
I
So
was gonna say, I don't know that
um,
you need
I don't think I need a second. So all in favor, aye.
I
Great. One quick follow-up question. Can you provide me with the date for the full committee hearing so that we can make sure we have that?
Yeah, that's March 5th is our next
Great.
full commission meeting.
All right. We will plan on
And
being
I
there.
don't think that you need to send anyone to that, but you are welcome to. So just because
I'll plan on being there virtually just
Great.
for.
That is the only way to be there. So
Great. Awesome.
thank you very much
Fantastic.
for joining. Okay.
Appreciate all your help. Have a great evening.
Okay, thank you. Okay, now having disposed of that item, I want to move on to our sort of open forum, and please feel free to raise your hand if you want to make some comments on any issue. And this is being recorded and we can pass it along to anyone. But this is a great chance to just share what you're thinking about for our committee. And just, there are 10 of us as non-panelists currently, not assuming that everyone's going to speak, but just so we get through everyone, keep comments to a few minutes. And we appreciate you joining. So who's up first, if anyone wants to speak? Got two folks that raised their hands. Barbara, can we be recognized? Three folks.
Hi, everybody. My name is
Hi.
Barbara Benham. I live in Calverton on Columbia Road. And I have a couple of points. I made these at the last ANC meeting. There's still some outstanding issues with the Columbia Road bike lane bus priority project right along my stretch. One is across the street. There's a loading zone that doesn't have the proper signage. I was in touch with Kevin Harrison. Apparently, they're aware of this. I'm not clear what the signage is supposed to be from our emails. I just checked. And also, I'm a little confused about why it's taking so long to put in the benches. And then I was reviewing my emails with him right before this meeting, and I realized that the plans for the bus stop at Ontario Road are a little interesting in that they're leaving the shelter on the sidewalk. They're not putting it on the island because of visibility issues. And I just wondered if everyone was aware of that. That seems a little problematic in the sense if you're the only person there, you might miss the bus. So there's that. Then another new point is I wondered if the ANC would consider reaching out to DDOT to try to get a sense of the collective feedback that it's getting, and if we could kind of schedule a cadence of reports from DDOT about things like bus, when we were supposed to learn once this went in, if incidents went up or down, if bus times were improving, traffic backup along my stretch of Columbia Road does seem worse. Obviously I wasn't recording it before. So I just wondered if the ANC maybe could collaborate with DDOT to try to like have a meeting in 6 months or 4 months, or to have some sort of a sense of reports on a regular basis so we could understand how well the project is working or not working and what might need to be done to fix what's not working as well as it should. So thanks.
You're muted. Daniel.
Sorry about that. I was typing up notes and I wanted to make sure I caught everything that Barbara said. So I don't know if Barbara wants to rejoin for a second, but I am so we got signage for the loading zone outside the Calverton.
Yeah, across the street.
Across the street. Thank you.
Right. Potter's house.
Uh-huh. Okay, great. And then you mentioned other signage that's been slow to go up.
No, that's the only signage
Okay.
that I'm aware of.
You mentioned the plans for
the
the bus
signage
stop at
that
Ontario
lady-
Road. Was there something before that?
Benches.
Benches are
Yeah,
slow to
the
go.
benches,
Thank you.
yeah, the benches, I was trying to find, I thought one of Kevin's emails said something about they're working with a contractor, but I couldn't find that. So that's just
And when you
impressionistic.
say benches, you mean the bus
But they're not
shelters?
there.
You mean,
Yes, the bus
but yeah,
shelters, benches.
bus shelters. Great.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
guess it's combined shelter bench with most, except for
Mhm.
Ontario Road.
Yeah. Okay. Great. Okay, and then you mentioned the bus stop for Ontario Road, and wondering why it's staying on the sidewalk rather than on the island there. And folks are concerned about folks missing the bus. You wanted transparency on the results of the reviews around bus times, traffic times, incidents, that kind of thing. And I agree with you that would be great to have them here to report on what they find. I know that it's a little bit early for their plan to review, but I would like to. I'm going to ask for some transparency on what they find because we want to refine this as soon as possible if there's changes that can be made to improve the design. So was there anything else that I missed?
Yeah, another thing was I was wondering if there could be a way to compile, everything's very granular right now, so we don't know sort of what the themes are across the feedback that you're getting, and perhaps DDOT is getting. So if there's just any way to, not to make work for anybody, but to share that or let us know what the themes are. And going back to the Ontario Road bus island, Kevin did say it was because of visibility issues, so that he did give a reason, but that was new information to me, and I just wondered if it was ideal and if the visibility issues were insurmountable.
Yeah, that's a good
So
question.
thanks.
Thank you very much.
Okay, so thanks very much.
Appreciate your time. Next up, I see we've got Sandra Decker.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
So my biggest comment is also on the Ontario Road bus stop. I mean, I used to use it every day to commute and I haven't been because it's just very difficult, I think. So one is, I'm 60 and not in the best of shape. And so I need to sit sometimes. And I did miss the bus. So the person who just presented said, well, because the shelter is still on the sidewalk and the bus stop is in the middle of the road on the other side of the lane, and the bus did not see me. So I had been waiting for the 42. My back hurt, so I went and crossed the bike lane. You actually have to go to the end of the road, around the bike lane, and then to the shelter. And I was sitting there, and the 42 went right by me. So, and I missed my event. I mean, it was, so that is a big problem. Also, there's no shelter from the rain or the sun, and the sun is a very big deal. When it's July and August, if you're waiting in 100-degree heat, there's no shade. And I used that bus stop exclusively for years, and would often, if I couldn't get a seat, at least in July and August, I could stand behind the shelter to get a little bit of shade if it was 100 degrees and I was sweating like crazy and carrying bags. But now for sure they won't see you. So to me, that bus stop is a complete disaster. Like I can't use it for commuting anymore. So I am driving because I need, I can't stand out in 100-degree heat in August. And I mean, I need a bench or something. Sometimes you just missed a bus and you're waiting for a while. So I think it's hugely problematic. I can see how, maybe if you put a shelter right in the middle of the street, there is going to be visibility issues. But That's a big popular stop, and I don't think it functions at all. The bus isn't going to see you, and even if it saw you, you have to run to the end of the street, cross the, because there's a big barrier at the new bus stop. There's a big fencing or whatever, so you can't even just cross the bike lane. You have to go to the end of the road, then cross the bike lane, and then down. So you have to kind of rush to get the bus because the bus stop and the bus shelter are not in the same place. So to me, that is a huge thing. In terms of also the deterioration of the bus service to Adams Morgan in general, I didn't know. I thought they were going to do something to replace some of the circulator lines, and I don't know if anybody has any update on that. I used to use the circulator to go down to Trader Joe's at 14th and T, and now I can't really do it. I mean, if I can't carry groceries from 14th Street, so I can't do errands at Logan Circle or McPherson Square. I can't even get to Columbia Heights if my back hurts, right? Because there is no bus that goes to Columbia Heights anymore. So since Adam Morgan doesn't have our own bus stop, the bike lane project was called the bus priority project, but I see a very big deterioration. My one bus stop is no longer functional, and some of my lines are no longer there. So I would appreciate any update on that. And the last thing is there anybody could do anything about the bikes who are not using the bike lane? So I was driving the other day coming west from 16th Street on Columbia Road, and two bikes were biking right in the middle of the street, literally right in between where the two cars are supposed to go, which is very dangerous now because no one has even a few feet of leeway. There's no shoulder, there's nothing. And for what I could tell, one bike was doing it because they were going very fast, and the person in their lane going west was going slow, the other bike. So they didn't have time to get around. So they went right in the middle. But the one that was coming east, I have no idea because there was no bike in the bike lane going east. So they were just biking in the middle of the road, I guess, because they found it more convenient than biking in the bike lane. But to me, that is very dangerous. I mean, I try not to drive. I bought my first car at age 55 because I was a foster parent and was commuting 4 hours to get the kid to school and go to my office in Rockville. But it is very hard if you've got bikes coming at you in two different directions and there is no shoulder or anything. There's nothing. So I don't know if any, enforcement, I'm old. In the 80s, I got a ticket for jaywalking in DC. Can we do something to me, there has to be some responsibility too, to bike in the lanes and not bike in the middle of the street. And if there's any possibility, I couldn't get a picture of it because I was driving and could barely avoid hitting them. But, and it was two at the same time, right in the middle, going different directions. So those are my comments. I've been, but it's the bus stop is a disaster for anybody who needs to sit or can't stand in 100-degree weather. It's a very big deal. But also not being able to get to Trader Joe's anymore and stuff by bus. I drive now. But so if there's any way that could be addressed, that would be great. I've written to Kevin, I'll write again. I kept thinking the bus stop situation was temporary, but apparently it's not temporary, or at least they're putting a bench there, but no shade. Or is that I guess there's a plan to put a bench in the middle of the road where the new bus stop is, but no shade. Is that?
Yeah, this is the second comment about this, and I really agree that there needs to be, they need to really investigate whether there's any way to address the visibility while also creating a shelter that is visible to bus drivers and useful to those who are waiting. So that's a great point, and I'll also talk to Kevin and see what can be done to fix that so that stop is useful to you. And I completely agree on the replacement to the circulator, something that the ANC has passed a resolution on previously. There are changes coming with the adoption of the Better Bus Network, but it doesn't replace the circulator, which of course was still running when the Better Bus Network was written. We need those connections, and those were part of the comments that we submitted on the Better Bus Network. So yeah, I appreciate those comments, and I will send those as well to Kevin and to the council member. So thank you very much. Does anyone else have any comments or thoughts on what Sandra
Yeah,
shared?
I just want to pop in and say to Sandra that I appreciate your feedback because I saw someone using a walker who missed the bus as well for the same reason that you mentioned with not having enough time to walk to the end and then cross the bike lane and get onto the bus. And because it didn't happen to me and I didn't take a picture, I couldn't give that feedback to Kevin. So it's really good to have the personal story when something is actually affecting you. So thank you for that comment.
I don't have much else to add. I just, agreed and definitely had similar experience at the bus stop. So rest assured that we will do what we can.
Thank you very much, Sandra and everyone. Okay, we've got. Oh, I didn't mean to raise my hand. I wanted to see who has raised hands. Radical Lens.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
It's Nancy Shaya. I just want to know if the ANC is planning to have any kind of community meeting on the bus priority project to collect all of these issues so that we can have some kind of faith that the problems will be solved. Would you consider having an in-person community meeting to address the issues? That's all.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, certainly we're open to having meetings. I think it's something that's always, on the table. There was a meeting just recently at the festival center. I don't know if you were able
All of
to
these
attend.
all of these problems were brought up at the festival center and presented to DDOT, but there is no resolution that anyone can hope for. DDOT was there to listen, the mayor's office was there to listen, but there was nothing that was brought back to the community giving us hope that anything is going to change. The ANC hasn't really brought this to the community yet, so it'd be great if the ANC, you could do it at the festival center, also at the Line Community Room, invite the entire community to listen to all the issues, pro and con, not just to listen, but we really do want some kind of resolution to the issues. So
Are there specific issues that you want to get resolved and beyond what's been brought up already?
well, I could send you the list that came out of that meeting. There's a whole bunch of issues, but I think it should be opened up to the entire community. We be given an opportunity to come together. The ANC hasn't had a in-person meeting in I don't know how many years. And the community used to have a lot of in-person meetings. We haven't met in so many years, and this would be a great opportunity for you to meet your constituents as well as solve the issues that are brought up that have arisen since this project was implemented.
Okay, thank you very much. I do want to point out that we did have an in-person meeting during my time on the commission last term. And it was held in the community room at the Line Hotel. And we had some issues with tech, and I will say that we've gotten no very little support from the Office of ANCs when it comes to the tech involved with running a hybrid meeting. which is something that we tried to do, and ultimately we found that attendance was higher at virtual meetings. But it's something that we're always thinking about, and I know that we want to, as a commission, I'll speak for myself, but I've heard from others as well, that we want to increase opportunities for in-person engagement with commissioners. Yeah, the bus priority project was considered at several meetings of the ANC and of the committee here. And certainly we're always open to more feedback, and if we get sufficient interest and the committee wants to hold more forums, but there's no specific sort of feedback loop or timeline at the moment for DDOT. With the project, the construction is mostly finished. Obviously, the bus shelters and signage are still being resolved. But anyways, I'm always open to having more discussions like this, and certainly, this is exactly the kind of invite to the community to speak up that I think you were mentioning, and sort of always open to more feedback and resolving the issues that remain. So anyone else have any comments you want to add?
Just appreciate your feedback, and also want to note that, these committee meetings are open and we want people to be here talking to us about these issues. So this is one way that we can definitely engage. And again, I feel like, I'm probably just repeating you, but we do want to do some in-person engagement. But for now, this is probably one of the best ways that we can talk about some of these things. And these are, again, open to the community. So hopefully we can get more folks here talking about this stuff even more.
Thank you very much, Nancy. And then next up, I see we've got, hold on a moment, let me see the attendees, Stephen Palmer.
Hey, how's it going? Thanks so much for holding this. I just wanted to drop in and say how wonderful the bus project has been for my part of the neighborhood. I saw you were opening the floor for more discussion on it. I live right off the intersection of Columbia Road and 17th Street, which was one of the worst intersections in the city, in my opinion, prior to the project. And now is absolutely a breeze, especially to drive on. It was extremely hard to drive on, to turn off and on at that intersection right near the vet on that corner. And so I just wanted to really emphasize that I think it's made the neighborhood much safer to drive on and to walk on. And I think further, I generally encourage the ANC to, continue working on these little nits and tweaks that, will arise with any large issue, or large project. But I think the any calls to re-examine or figure out how we feel about this should be put to rest. This is a wonderful project that's made the community much better. So thank you for holding the time, but I hope you don't have to waste much more time hearing about whether we like the project or not. Thanks.
Great. Thank you very much, Stephen. I appreciate those comments, and I personally have also benefited from the project. And I think that the buses I've seen move more quickly through the neighborhood because they're not pulling out of traffic. And I also think that some of the redesigns around islands and pedestrian safety have been improvements, and I think there are still some tweaks that we can do to make this project good for the neighborhood. So appreciate your comments. Anyone else have any comments? Okay, great. Julie, I see you've already joined. Great.
Hi, thank you. Yes, I just wanted to briefly say, I guess picking up on not the last speaker, but previous comments, that I think we could use some more tweaking at the Columbia and Calorama intersection, the changes there. I don't know that it's worth going into the details now, because I gather that I don't know if these are being transferred to DDOT or that there may not be room to fix them, but on the southbound bus stop lane the other day. There was an elderly woman waiting for the bus, and she was holding onto the bars, the fence, and she was standing right in the bike lane. And it's not at all clear at that stop when you're waiting for the bus, if you're trying to be near the bus sign so that you can be visible to the bus driver, it's not clear that you could be standing in the bike lane. The green part is already faded a little bit. And anyway, and she was, I didn't blame her for not knowing. And she probably wanted to hold on to the fence, which is right next to the bike lane, but, and yeah, no place to sit. But, and so I thought that was a problem. And then a little bit later, a bike came and they were coming from, up Columbia Road. And then perhaps because they saw her standing there, I don't know, went into the middle of the road. And then there were cars coming both ways, and somebody had double parked on the far side of the street. And so the car behind them tried to go around. At the same time, another car was coming from the other direction. Everything was blocked. Another biker went through on the road. I mean, and then, frequently, well, in both directions, the intersection just gets blocked because buses are stopped. Cars want to get through the intersection. It's gridlock. So I'm glad if it's brought some benefits in some areas, but I feel like there are still serious issues with it in some areas. And I'd like to think the DDOT can come up with a better solution at that intersection anyway, because I feel like it's still dangerous. I almost got hit by a bike crossing the bike lane to get to the bus stop. So anyway, that's my thought. Thank you.
Daniel, you're muted. But
Sorry about that. I think Julie was saying one more thing. Can we get Julie back to finish?
All I said was that I took a couple of pictures of the woman holding on the fence and standing in the bike lane and the biker going around. And if I don't know if they're useful or not, but I took some.
Yeah,
Thank you.
that's useful. I would definitely, you can share them with me, and I'm typing up some notes here and gonna send an email to Kevin, and about the issues that are in his, at least in his purview. I live near that intersection. It's not my SMD, but it's I'm just a few blocks south on California. And I see what you're saying, that folks want to get through that intersection, and there's a bus that has pulled through the intersection going southbound or westbound, whatever you want to say, and then especially if cars have been double parked, that could create chaos, and I have seen that a lot of cars being double parked along Columbia Road, and my instinct is that we need better enforcement, so that because that one double parked car creates chaos when folks are going around. It's very dangerous for pedestrians and bikers. And certainly we also want to I think if we want to maybe move that railing to the other side of the bike lane so that if somebody is standing in the bus stop, they're not blocking the bike lane, and inadvertently, of course. And we want to make that railing useful. And I don't know if there's a plan to put a shelter there on the side that is on the other side of the bike lane. But
the funny thing is they just moved that, sorry to interrupt, they just moved that fence to where it is from, I don't know why. The black poles, and the truck that was parked illegally, whatever the word is, I just forgot, was a delivery truck. And I feel like somehow this whole project did not improve space for delivery trucks to pull over and not block. I mean, there's a lot of just where cars used to park that is blocked off now, and nothing can use it. And the cars aren't supposed to park there, and it's just wasted space. And I mean, at the very least, it seems like they could have made it for delivery trucks to pull over. And sorry, and just the last thing is that I've seen ambulances also stuck not getting through the intersection because there is no way to get around anything if the buses are stopped or whatever. So sorry if that I don't think I know how to email you unless if I go on the website for the photo.
All of us are our SMD number at anc.dc.gov. So I'm 1C01 at anc.dc.gov.
Okay.
And then 1C04 and 1C09 are on here as well.
Okay. Thank you.
And you can email all of us, 1C01 through 1C09. There's 9 of us. There's at the moment 1 vacancy on the commission, but that email can be waiting for them when they get when somebody joins the commission.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Did anyone else have any comments about that? Okay, great. Sandra, I see you're back on. Welcome back. Let's if for a second round comments, I guess I welcome a few extra comments, but let's just keep it brief. So folks can sign
I'll
off.
be
but
very
thank you.
brief, but I would appreciate it. A lot of people didn't view like having made the Ontario Road bus stop unusable by people over 60. Like that's not a tweak. You know, it was stated a bit, but then repeated too. So it's not, I'm not trying to start a fight, but like I used to use that bus stop and now I can't. And I don't think that's a tweak. That's a severe deterioration. So unless the idea is that people over 60 need to leave Adams Morgan or need to drive, that's not a tweak. And that's all I have to say, but thank you.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. And certainly that is a major quality of life issue for you. And I didn't mean to diminish that. And yeah, we will, push to see if there's any solution that balances, all the needs and makes that stop usable for you. I really hope there is. We don't want you to feel compelled to leave or to drive. That the bus should be available to everyone. I now that we've sort of gone through everyone, I just want to there were some folks who emailed me that they couldn't join, but they asked me to just read their notes into the record. So Tucker Jones said, I'm new to Adams Morgan, just moved in earlier this month, but I've been in DC for over 8 years. In that time, I observed how Columbia Road Northwest was before the bus and bike lane changes, and I've observed how these changes have made Columbia Road Northwest and Adams Morgan safer and more accessible. I'm also well aware of many, many months, possibly years of community input on this topic, including many meetings facilitated by ANC1C. I'm grateful for all the work that you and your predecessors have done in this topic. ANC1C's support for a safe Columbia Road Northwest is a reassuring constant in a world that other people seek to make more dangerous. ANC1C should support efforts to extend the protected bike lane and bus priority lane on Columbia Road Northwest eastward across 16th Street into Columbia Heights. Tucker also expressed support for the zoning variance at 1837 Vernon, which we've already taken care of. So thank you, Tucker. And then David Ramos sent a note that said, I'd like to reiterate my enthusiastic support for the project. This is the Columbia Road redesign. The street is safer now. There are problems, certainly. Commercial loading is a problem, and the street needs more loading zones. These were problems before, and they are visible now because the risk and inconvenience adheres to drivers rather than to bicyclists in blocked bike lanes. I believe that all of the commissioners serving the PZT are new to their roles. I'm not, but know that the project is years old, that it follows from sustained advocacy by your neighbors and past commissioners, and that there has been vast outreach by DDOT. And he shared a prior letter. So thank you, David, for your feedback. And then lastly, this one came to my personal email. So let me see if I can find, just give me, Ezra Deutsch Feldman said, the new design of Columbia Road is much safer. It encourages more people to bike in the corridor. who may not have felt safe doing so before, and discourages car use. It also prioritizes bus riders. I know some people are upset about the new distribution of bus stops, but it is frankly not realistic to have a bus stop on every block or where every single person would like one. There will always be a tension between having more stops and providing faster service, because the more places like bus can stop to pick people up and drop people off, the more stops they will have to make and the slower the bus will go. DDOT rightly adjusted the number of stops to Columbia to give slightly more priority to bus speeds than the previous arrangement. Given the project is now complete, we can turn to small adjustments that might need to be made to make the corridor even better. Of course, bike lanes across the city are routinely blocked by inconsiderate drivers, so I hope that the city will aggressively enforce the new lanes. I am also perfectly happy to see any number of new crosswalks installed. Lastly, we should look at additional nearby roads that could use a protected bike lane in order to make part of a larger network. Right now, as far as I can remember, this section of Columbia Road doesn't connect to any other protected bike lanes. Obvious candidates would be extending this lane further east to at least 14th Street and building a protected bike lane on the entirety of Connecticut Avenue to connect with the western end of this project. Thank you. So thank you, Ezra, for those comments. So I think we've heard from a lot of folks, and I just want to reiterate, we're open to feedback by email or on these meetings. I'm going to sort of try to create a regular space. It may not be every meeting, but every so often to sort of create an open forum for comments like this. Does anyone else have anything to add from the commissioners before we wrap up? Barbara, are you joining again?
Yeah, yes, actually,
Okay.
I had a question. I had a question, sort of a general question about notice and the agenda. Because it wasn't clear to me. I looked on the website this evening and the agenda wasn't posted. And then I saw an email today from you. I think it was to the listserv. And I've noticed, I started paying very close attention to what the ANC was doing back in February. And I noticed that the agendas weren't, that we weren't always getting 7 days notice. And I think that's what the code requires. So if you could just speak to that. And then I do think it'd be great if you could try to organize an in-person meeting at some point. It would be wonderful.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, I sent an email last week to the listserv. It may have been Thursday or Friday as opposed to Wednesday. We didn't have a formal agenda for this month. There was nothing to be voted on. It was just sort of inviting everyone in the community to attend this meeting and share views. And then today I heard from CJ who spoke earlier about the variance request for Vernon Street. It was a last minute addition. So we voted at the beginning of the meeting to add that to this agenda. And I sent out a note as soon as I could to the community. So yeah, if there, certainly I want to send out agendas 7 days in advance on the listserv and get those up on the website as well. So I apologize that the last minute addition to this didn't get added to the to an agenda on the website. So I'll try to fix that so that any last minute items are on the website as well. But yeah, you're right. That's 7 days notice for anything that we're aware of, and then if there are last minute additions, then we'll need to vote on those. So thank you. Does anyone else have any other feedback?
I just wanted to note that we do meeting notice for commission meetings and our committee meetings right at the very beginning of the month on groups.io and on our website. So those have been going out right on time. And it's like we noticed this meeting, I think about 2 weeks ago now. So we do have that there. I know you're speaking specifically to the agenda, but I just want to make sure folks know that that is available and will continue to be available on that timeline.
Thank you. And as for the in-person meetings, that's something for the full commission to consider, and something that I again, we said earlier that looking for opportunities to engage with our neighbors, in person as much as possible. We've tried to do a hybrid meeting, and technically it was very difficult for us, and we feel that I personally feel that we get more turnout at these online meetings, but I want to create as many opportunities for engagement as possible. So, continue to consider whether it makes sense to do an in-person meeting, but certainly we'll have other opportunities to engage as well. Catherine, Marie-Lise, anything you want to add before we wrap up? Great. I really appreciate everyone joining this discussion, and please keep emailing us and joining these meetings to share your input, and thank you and have a good night.